Hello everyone, welcome to the Farsight Intelligence Briefing for July 2022. Now this is a little later than we normally have it. We normally have it at the end of the first week of the month, but this time we wanted to have the intelligence briefing after we released our Close Encounters video that we just released yesterday. Actually, it was late last night. I guess it was, it was late last, it was very late last night. In fact, it was sort of today in the morning. But anyway, we released it. Now, normally we release our Great Mysteries projects on the 15th of the month. So releasing it on the 24th was late for us, but you have to understand that we did the Close Encounters event, which I'm going to just talk about and why it's important. We did that during the second week of the month, meaning it ended on the 15th. So we had to get back to Atlanta, and then the video had to be collected, interviews had to be done, editing had to be done. So it took a week for us to get the video ready, which is why it took an extra week for the video to be released. So we'll be back on our normal schedule of the 15th of the month, starting in August. However, I need to talk a little bit about the Close Encounters to give you a little background on why it's important. Now, I've been reading through some of the comments in our forums on farsightprime.com and some of them on the YouTube comments, discussion area below. And I've noticed there's quite a bit of discontent about why the ETs didn't land, come out of the ships, and have a barbecue with us. Open contact like that. And there's sort of a sense of unreality in that discussion that I need to address. What happened at the intelligence briefing what happened at the encounter, the Close Encounters, the Farsight Close Encounters, was really very special. And it was somewhat, in many ways, very unique to anything that's happened in the planet prior. Although there have been many attempts to interact with ETs, it's been very different when groups go out, and what we did at Farsight, at least from our perspective, and I want to go through a little bit of that. Now, that doesn't diminish in the slightest the efforts that other groups do when they try to go out and have ET contact and so on. What they're doing is really important. But it's just very different from what we did, and so I want to go through that. So anyway, the Close Encounters video it was a couple years in preparation in terms of conceptualizing, thinking what we would actually do. All of 2022, from January until July, was oriented around some stage of preparation, and then the last couple months, for May and June, it was really intense to get everything ready. So there is a real focus among humans to look for physical evidence of extraterrestrials. That's a real problem, and I'm going to go through why that's a real problem. But that focus on the physical evidence is the problem. That is not something unrelated. It is the problem. And that is why the humans are in such a dire strait right now. And I'm going to be going through why that exists and why that happens. But the ETs themselves, the extraterrestrials themselves, only they can control physical evidence. They are the dominant movers. We can't order them to say, okay guys, you land right there, and then you come out of your ships and let us take nice photographs. We got good 1080p or good 4K cameras going. Come on, you do it, be there. We can't do that. Nobody can do that. So we have to look at the underlying reasons for why they hesitate to have that type of open contact. It's not just us, it's among many. You must understand that there has been tremendous open contact between extraterrestrials and government sources, between extraterrestrials and military elements as well as political elements. So the idea of having open contact is not something that doesn't happen. The question is it happening to the masses? And that's really the real focus is on the questions that are coming out, comments that are coming out in our forum sections, as well as widespread throughout the masses. It's the contact that's open with the masses that is being demanded by people. So it's not government contacts with the extraterrestrials, it's not military contacts with the extraterrestrials, it's fundamentally contacts with the masses that's the big issue. And the masses, in many respects, are demanding, we want contact too. And that plays into an entire dialogue about that's very easy to manipulate, about the denial of the existence of the extraterrestrials. So it always boils down to, unless there is ET contact on the level of the masses, then the ETs do not exist. I refuse to believe that the ETs exist because they're not here. I haven't seen them. They haven't landed in my backyard. They haven't come to my dinner table. They haven't let me shake their hand. That is the problem. That demand that the ETs have this mass open contact, not governmental contact, but the masses with open contact, that leads into the dialogue of denial. And then the mainstream and the scientific community can deny the existence of the ETs and sort of falls right into the narrative that they like to develop, which removes pressure on them. Now, if the governments were to openly acknowledge extraterrestrials and the extraterrestrial contact that they have had over the years, that would cause pandemonium, because people would then be saying, what? You've been doing what? And you haven't told us about it? And this is a democracy, and we voted these people in, and we pay taxpayer money, and you're holding that as a secret? What? It would cause tremendous chaos. And it would cause tremendous chaos in authoritarian regimes. So places like Russia and China, they would not be immune to that type of chaos as well. They would threaten to have the loss of control. And control is what they're always worried about, both democratic forms of government and more authoritarian forms of government. They want to maintain that control. Okay, so we want to go into the reasons for why the ETs are hesitant for open contact on the level of the masses. So, to establish the idea that some elements in the military or the government are trying to push that envelope to the masses, to get the masses to do that, you have to recognize that some elements in the government and the military that want that open contact on the level of the masses, they have been trying their best, and they can't do it without some type of push from the level of the masses. So if you get a presidential candidate, for example, in the United States, talking about the need for open contact with the extraterrestrials, the mainstream media, other governmental people, other politicians would laugh at the person, and the media would pound on the person so greatly that the person would lose the election. So what we have is a situation in which the military is sometimes, not all of the military, but especially the Navy, is trying to help push the masses to the point where they are demanding the information. And if the masses then demand the information, then the politicians and the military leaders will have to respond. So the issue is what the masses are willing to demand and getting that to happen. Now, there's a video that I've shown many times, and I'm going to briefly show it again. It's a so-called Tic Tac video, because one of the ships, the ET ships, looks sort of like a Tic Tac lozenge. But just briefly, let me show you, and then let me give you a little history of what happened with that. So let me do that really quickly. It'll only take a second, and let me...
Dude, there's a fucking drone, bro. There's a whole fleet of them. Look on the ASA. My gosh. They're all going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots from the west. Look at that thing, dude. Oh, got it! Woohoo!
Okay, so you saw that. Now, that is the so-called Tic Tac video. That was released by the United States Navy. Now, when that came out, the U.S. military was trying to push the masses in the direction of acknowledging the reality of the extraterrestrials. it was reported in the news. That's not their best video. That's not their best pictures. It's just one that they chose to release. And they also released a statement saying that those were actual craft. They said that those were not manufactured or controlled by the United States, China, or Russia. But they didn't go to the next step. But there is no other alternative. If they weren't from the United States, China, or Russia, then they have to be extraterrestrial. But the military didn't go that far because they knew that the political leadership had to do that. But the political leadership won't do that unless the masses actually join in. So what happened was, I remember I was watching a late night discussion commentary show, Bill Maher, and a mainstream physicist was being interviewed about that and other ET type things that are being released by the military. And the mainstream physicist basically suggested, why should we believe a grainy video and it could probably be a glitch? So the physicist actually mentioned the word glitch. It could be a glitch, sort of dismissing the whole thing. And Bill Maher was trying to push the guy and push the person into sort of saying, look, this is the military said it's not XYZ, what other stuff could it be? So, but the idea is that the mainstream is willing to dismiss almost anything that happens. But at least it actually got to the point where Bill Maher was actually interviewing a physicist and sort of trying to push the envelope. And that's what we're talking about. Now, the rest of the mainstream media has been very hesitant to sort of grasp on it. So they reported the release of the information. There has been actually further releases of 1,500 other accounts of unidentified aerial phenomena, formerly UFOs, that cannot be explained by any known means. But again, the mainstream media is always hesitant to sort of go to the next step. Even if the military is saying they're not from the US, they're not from Russia, they're not from China, there's only so much that the US military can actually be allowed to say. And the masses are not really yet getting to the point of pushing it, accepting it. So now I'm going to go into the reasons for the extraterrestrial restraint. This is big. This is really big. You need to understand why the ETs are doing this, why they're holding back from that widespread. They're trying to avoid a war that could end up with the whole planet being a cinder. It's a very delicate thing that's going on right now. And so the only thing they can do is work with the masses in certain groups in the way that the masses are willing to do that. And they're trying to work with the masses on the level of the masses without going over a line that would cause a planetary war. And that's the big issue. So that's the details. We're going to get into the details, how the ETs are trying to avoid the complete destruction of planet Earth because of the conflicts that would occur if that open contact was pushed beyond boundaries. Explaining that is the key to understanding why we did our Close Encounters event the way we did it.